Okay, here we go. Ready for part 2. Get everything all set up here. Alright. The next day flew by for Emma. Mary Margaret giving her the stink eye over breakfast, school, then a bus ride where she had to politely remind the driver she had a new drop-off point. She'd seen Regina's manor a few times before, mostly on Halloween, where a few sparse jack-o'-lanterns turned it into the background of a Scooby-Doo episode. In the day, it was house porn. The grounds were overgrown, but they weren't a jungle. All of the weeds and wildflowers made it look like the Garden of Eden. Emma had always figured Eden wouldn't be an orderly garden, it'd be wild and free. On the long walk up the driveway, Emma groomed herself a little, gathering up her hair into a ponytail, adjusting her stockings, even putting on both straps on her backpack. All of a sudden, she wanted to look her best for Regina. Maybe it was just the house, so intimidating in its near perfection. Even it couldn't live up to Regina's impeccable fashion sense and general elegance, but it did throw her into stark relief. She was like the crown jewel of her own life. That's not pretentious at all. Emma wanted to be like one of the other jewels. I wonder if he actually intended it to be like a throwaway like. Emma wanted to be like one of the other jewels, or if she wanted to be like one of the other jewels. This wasn't being pedantic, but it's just an odd way of saying that. Okay, so anyways, Emma wanted to be like one of the other jewels. Maybe that ball thing Royals had with the cross on top? She rang the doorbell and then was actually a little disappointed when Ruby answered it, then confused when she saw what Ruby was wearing. Emma was tempted to call it a sexy French maid costume right out of a Halloween party, or a strip club. Black silk formed a short skirt and a low-cut top. The skirt flared out like a tutu, so Emma could see the black stockings Ruby had on, all the way up to black lace garter belts. There were starched white cuffs and a collar, a white apron, and even a little white cap perched on Ruby's hair, itself pinned up into a wavy updo. All in all, Ruby looked like she should be on American Horror Story, making someone Christerbait. Okay, first, when you describe a sexy white maid or French maid outfit, I think we pretty much got the mental image. You really don't need to write all that shit out. I mean, it's a little male gazy, just a wee bit. And next, Christerbait. Yeah. I have to say that I have coined a few terms in my time, but that one's, I don't know. You, I guess. Oh, hey, Emma, Ruby said, smiling warmly. Regina said you'd be coming by. You want some tea or something? Really? We're not even going to get into all of this? Ruby looked down at her attire. Oh, this. Well, I make some money on the side cleaning Regina's house, and she lets me dress this way. She actually mailed me a set of jeans, but I think she's given up on it now. They were mom jeans. Okay, it's just for a minute there I thought I ended up at the Playboy Mansion by mistake. Thank you, Ruby said sincerely. It was a dream of hers to have her own reality show, although not one where she slept with rappers or anything. She's not like one of those rap guys' girlfriends, with the big butts. That's not in there, I'm just, that's what it made me think of. So not one of the ones where she slept with rappers or anything. More like her racing around the world, and she just happened to be wearing a shirt tight enough to cut off circulation. Well, that's fair for Ruby. The thing was, Emma couldn't help compare her to Regina, who always looked so tasteful and buttoned down and tempting, like a librarian who moonlighted as a burlesque dancer, which, according to all the magazines Emma read, was what men thought as the perfect woman. Well, I could see it. I mean, a librarian who moonlighted as a burlesque dancer? Yeah, that's kind of hot. And Ruby, for all her body rocking, came off crassly. Regina would have dressed like she was auditioning for The Help, and made it look like something Angelina Jolie would wear on the red carpet. That's an interesting metaphor. Emma had idolized Ruby back in junior high, but now she kind of wondered if Ruby didn't just have bad taste in clothes. Come on, Miss R's in her office. After finishing up a phone call, Regina invited Emma in and insisted she have a snack before getting started. Ruby's brought them ginger snaps and Sprite, and Regina smiled embarrassedly That's a very odd adverb. Embarrassedly. When rubies lean in to serve broadcast her cleavage to the both of them. That is also a very oddly worded typo. I think, when it should be when Ruby leaned in to serve broadcast her cleavage. Nah, it doesn't work. Never mind. That sentence sucks. Moving on. Regina solicited about how Emma's day had been. This is one of those cases where you're trying too hard. It could be just Regina asked how Emma's day had been, not solicited about how Emma's day had been. Regina solicited about how Emma's day had been, and Emma gladly told her. It felt nice, just having someone ask her what was up and not expecting an essay. Mary Margaret always grilled her at dinner, like Emma might spill the nuclear launch codes over green peas. Finished with their snack, and hurrying to get away from Ruby mooning them as she dusted Regina's piano. There's a mental image. Regina escorted Emma to the garden shed. It, at least, was in good repair from the last gardener, and Emma quickly proved to Regina that she knew her way around the various tools. I bet you do. She really was good with plants. She'd helped Mary Margaret with her garden back before her mother had gone batshit over the possibility of Emma ending up on Teen Mom 3. Okay, I don't get that one. Well, I suggest you start with the weeding, Regina said sweetly, handing Emma an angle hand weeder that would make it a breeze. Emma had begged her mother for one of those, but no, doing it by hand built so much freaking character. And if you need anything, just let me know. Will do, Mayor. Please call me Regina. I think it's time for my hour of sun. I'll be on the patio if you need me. Okay. Regina's backyard had 6-foot-high hedges that hid it, and a goodly portion of her house from the rest of her land. Emma decided to take that section first, killing anything that looked like a dandelion and stuffing it in the trash bag she dragged behind it. Behind what? Probably should say behind her. She was getting pretty into it, zenning out and letting her mind wander. It worried at her mother and how much longer Mary Margaret would be giving her the cold shoulder, and then flitted back to Regina. Oh, I promise I'll be very hard on her. It was just great how Regina had just diffused Mary Margaret, finding a way for everyone to be happy, except for Mary Margaret, since she was never happy. Emma hoped someone at college would be just like her, maybe one of her teachers. She could go all Dead Poet Society on Emma, or maybe Emma would visit Regina on break. Tell her mother she was going to Cancun and just stay at Regina's place. Watch old movies and drink wine. Regina could tell her how to kiss Scott. Yeah, because I'm sure that's going to happen. She always felt like she was doing something wrong. She was almost finished, about to go inside to see if she could scam any more ginger snaps off Regina, when the woman herself came out. She wore a loose silk dressing gown, the material nearly translucent, seeming to beckon Emma to try to look through it. Well, The flesh underneath was... Emma quickly concentrated on the next weed. God, she was perving on the mayor. What was wrong with her? Why couldn't she crush on Michelle Obama like all the other girls? Well, I don't know about all the other girls, Emma, but although I gotta say Michelle Obama is not bad. But that's an interesting choice. Regina waved at her, and Emma waved back, her hand doing a palsy thing instead of the graceful acknowledgement Regina had perfected. Then Regina took her gown off, laying it ever so neatly across the patio chair. She sat down on a sun lounger, every inch of herself stretched out for the light. That is also an interesting mental image. Emma only allowed herself to look out the corner of her eye. All Regina wore was a bikini, the two-piece covering like garnish on a steak. Again, an interesting metaphor. The rest of her... In Emma's photography class, the school district was too cheap to hire models and too prudish to get them naked anyway. They had to make do with photographing volunteers from the class, which meant that Emma had wasted far more rolls of film than posterity could justify on Kesha t-shirts and jeggings. But Regina, God, Emma wanted to photograph that body every which way. Photograph that body every which way. Low light, blinding light, silhouette, black and white, under the bleachers, against the white background, in the woods, everywhere. She wanted a portfolio of Regina, proof to convince the harshest skeptic that a woman really could look like that. Regina gave her neck a crack, did her fingers, and finally picked up a pair of sunglasses off the patio's dining table. She slipped them on like the finishing touch of the picture she was making of herself. Keeping herself very focused on her work, seemingly, Emma craned her head just barely to the side. Her eyes took in the cute little toes. Seriously? Her eyes took in the cute little toes on Regina's bare feet. Who says that? This guy, apparently. She dared to tilt her head further, now taking in Regina's legs. They seemed impossibly long, with Emma's gaze traveling up them second by second. Oh my. A glob of white liquid squirted onto them, and Emma looked away hurriedly, pulling the next 3 weeds at record speed as if somehow she'd glazed Regina's legs with newfound psychic powers. When she finally looked back, she saw Regina was smearing suntan lotion up and down her calves. Well, duh, Emma, what else did you think it was? I mean, did some guy just, immediately appear and come all over her? Seriously. Completely ordinary and responsible. Emma looked away just as Regina's legs started to shine with the oil. She pulled weeds and pulled weeds and pulled weeds. Quietly, efficiently. Her mother would have been so proud. Yes, she would have been so proud, Emma. And when she looked back, it was practically by accident. Practically by accident. A drop of sweat ran into her eye and stung, and she wiped it away and happened to look over at Regina. As those hands traveled over her breasts, up her throat, over her cheeks, like the caress of a lover, Emma had the feeling of being an intruder, stumbling upon a private moment. Regina in a moment of autoerotic pleasure. Then Regina's hands slid back down over the tops of her breasts, applying the lotion with the lightest touch. Oh, so male-gazy. So male-gazy. Emma felt her mouth go dry. If she'd tried, she would have found it impossible to look away. Not that she tried, but... Regina tugged her top a little ways down her cleavage. It was loose-fitting, the kind of thing that might come off at a quick pull. She spread the lotion over her areolas, almost to her nipples, almost letting Emma see them. Then she saw she'd gotten a dollop of lotion onto her top. Oh no. Sighing, she moved to untie the knot in the middle, deciding to forego it entirely, because of course she did. Emma felt her breath hitch and couldn't imagine ever exhaling again. Yes, and so do the rest of us. Then Regina looked right at her, because, she wasn't doing this on purpose? Come on. I know Emma's pretty clueless, but... Then Regina looked right at her. Her expression was impossible to make out with black glass blocking her eyes. You do realize that they're probably not actually made of glass, right? Oh, I'm sorry, Emma. I forgot you were there. No, she didn't. No, it's okay. Don't mind me. Emma tried to force a chuckle, but all that came out was a very hoarse cough. Regina smiled graciously. I know, it's just us girls, but if your mother knew, I think she'd run me in for corrupting a minor. She had such a fit about the English department at your school teaching Harry Potter. Really? I don't think Mary Margaret would have had a problem with Harry Potter. They weren't proper fairy tales, something like that. It could be our little secret. Oh my. The grooming. It begins. Well, I mean, not that it hasn't been there the whole time, but... It could be our little secret, Emma said desperately, and instantly regretted it. Beneath her poker face, which had been frozen on ever since Regina acknowledged her existence, she cringed. Pausing. And we're back. Maybe when we're a little better acquainted, Regina joked, and turned over with her top held to her chest. I think I'd better do my back. And what a back it was. Supple muscles, slender waist, and a feature men were a fan of, whose appeal Emma could very well understand. Regina's bottoms could have been mistaken for body paint at a first glance. Okay, yeah, that was confusing at first. And it all needed suntan lotion on it. Because of course it does. Emma started, unintentionally coming out as a squeak. She cleared her throat, but before she could start again, Ruby came out with a tray of lemonade, 2 glasses. Here's your drink, ma'am. She set one on the ground under Regina's lounger. Need someone to get your back? Desperately. Emma? Regina called suddenly. Emma felt like she was going to pass out. Yeah? Would you like a drink? Regina offered as Ruby rubbed the suntan lotion between her hands. No, thanks. Emma finally caught her breath. I think I'm going to do the rest of the yard. On the other side of the hedge, Emma dropped flat on her face and just breathed. God. Shit. What was she doing? Regina was good-looking, but she wasn't that good-looking. Okay, she was, but Emma didn't care. She was straight. She had a boyfriend. With a stupid name. She had posters of Josh Hutcherson. Yeah, okay. So Regina was getting a tan? Good for her. It was probably just to stop her from getting Alzheimer's or something like that. Is getting a tan a cure for Alzheimer's? Because I haven't heard that one before. Not so that she could give a teenager, wet dreams. Now, why is it necessary to put in parentheses a girl teenager? I mean, because it wouldn't be as bad if it was a boy teenager? Anyways, fuck. If Emma kept this up, she'd find out which gay slur her name rhymed with. She was sure there was one. Blanchard, that might as well have been gift wrap. It just sounded like a euphemism. Do you mind if I remove my top? Regina asked, the question drifting distantly through the leaves of the hedge. Emma felt her head shoot up like a prairie dog's, despite the split-second realization that Regina wasn't talking to her. No problem there, boss. Just us girls, right? Ruby replied. Does, Regina have a harem? Is that what's going on here? Because it really seems like she has a harem. You know, making the neighborhood girls into servants and such. Anyway, Emma now knew what game show contestants felt like when they flubbed $1 million question. That could have been her. She could be Regina's confidant, apprentice, friend, instead of just the stupid silly bitch who rear-ended her car. Oh, that's it, Regina sighed, and Emma realized that they'd started already. Her eyes darted to the hedge. She could just make out Regina, quivering under Ruby's strong fingers, the oil being lathered onto her shoulders. And get my sides, too, if you don't mind. Emma felt herself being pulled to the hedge as if her head had a magnet in it, and the leaves were magnets, too. She nearly shoved her face in it as Regina leaned up, her breast swaying under her, Ruby's long fingers running down the sides of Regina's body. They barely touched Regina there. Emma suddenly developed a keen appreciation of Ruby's self-control. How could you not want to touch those? They were just so... And they were really... And there was just how round they were. This is the moment where I look at the camera like I'm in the office. That feels good, Regina cooed, and Emma imagined she could see the shiver going down Ruby's spine. There certainly was one going down hers, but just a little lower. You missed a spot. Emma knew what Regina was talking about, so did Ruby. Her hands traveled back up Regina's ribs toward her. Emma pulled herself away so hard she nearly gave herself whiplash. This was so wrong. Ruby was just helping Regina put on some suntan lotion, and Emma was using simple skin cancer prevention like an issue of Maxim. What, has she been a teenage boy in a previous life? Gross. She'd helped her friends put on lotion plenty of times, and there'd never been anything sexual about it. It was just something you did at the beach. And my lower back now? Regina asked. Emma forced herself not to listen. There was work to do. She'd totaled Regina's car after all. Okay, so she barely tapped the car, but now apparently she's totaled it. Details. She owed her. She should be making it up to her, not whatever that had been. Almost viciously, Emma returned to tearing out weeds. God, you must have magic fingers, Ruby. Thank you, ma'am. I should be thanking you. Just work your magic on my thighs and I'll be absolutely beholden. Okay, even for Regina, I don't think she would say that. Ooh. And back. Emma heard herself groan. Okay, just this once. Gently, her hands actually shaking a little, Emma spread the branches of the hedge and eased her head down to look through the hole she'd made. Ruby was on her knees between Regina's legs. They were spread. Jesus Christ. Her oily fingers working their magic just below Regina's ass. Her hands moved with firm strokes. If she was nervous about touching Regina, she didn't show it. Maybe she had a lot of experience with it. I'm sure she does. Emma heard another groan make its way up her throat. I need the oil between my thighs, Ruby, Regina said, her voice just barely carrying to Emma, and that was thanks to the wind. Okay, so it's apparently windy now. Her words were low, intimate. That's where I burn up. Me too, Ruby said cheerfully, oblivious to any double entendre. Her hands moved up Regina's thighs and then down between them, like she was spreading Regina's legs. If it weren't for the distance, Emma could have sworn that Regina raised her ass a bit. And I wouldn't mind just a little inside my bikini, just to be on the safe side. Yes, ma'am. Ruby's hands disappeared between their bodies. Emma involuntarily arced forward for a better look, but there was none to be had. Oh, darn. She could just make out Regina's mouth. It seemed to be opening and closing. In pleasure, or was she just breathing? Well, if you don't know, then... Almost done, Regina said, breathing hard. Rub wherever you think I need it. Anywhere you like. At least, that's what Emma thought she said. It was hard to tell with her voice so soft. Did she hear Regina hiss in breath, like she'd just been touched somewhere sensitive, or was that just her imagination? Lower, Regina said. Emma didn't notice she was leaning forward until she lost her balance and crashed through the hedge, displaying all the grace of a Bigfoot sighting. Out of mercy, Regina didn't mention the possibility that Emma had been peeping on her, but it was hard not to notice that after that she never tanned when Emma was over. Emma had mixed feelings about that. In the coming days, she pruned the hedges, revved up Regina's riding lawnmower, and learned how to trim back the roses. Cultivated to Regina's exacting specifications, the estate became more imposing, and yet, the more Emma was there, the more familiar it was. Maybe she was becoming a vampire, coming to call the twilight at Castle Regina home. Okay. Oh, Wednesday. The weather was all fog. Does he really mean to say oh Wednesday, or does he mean on Wednesday? But it says oh Wednesday, so oh Wednesday. The weather was all fog and drizzle, not at all like the sunshine she'd gotten used to working in. The tank top Emma usually worked in now left her damp and shivering. Why is she there in fog and drizzle in a tank top? Does she not own a regular t-shirt or a sweatshirt? I'm pretty sure she probably has a hoodie somewhere. The tank top Emma usually worked in now left her damp and shivering. She was already griping in her head about spending an afternoon rooting around in the mud, but splashing closer to the front door, she saw Regina had it open. A much-abused welcome mat had been added to the austere porch. Emma wiped her shoes off on them, as an army must have done before her. Regina appeared as if a switch had been flipped, carrying a towel that she threw around Emma without a syllable of greeting. We're having such awful weather, I would have understood if you hadn't come by. Neither rain nor sleet nor snow, Emma quoted. She shut up as Regina wiped off her wet face. It's fine. I've had worse summer jobs. At least it's not retail. Well, that's fair. Regina bundled Emma up on the couch. Oh, no. Regina bundled Emma up in the cloth like they were in Tehran. Really? I admire your work ethic, Emma, but I have something... Really? Okay, I have to go back and unpack that for a second. So basically you're saying that Iranians are towel heads. Yes, because that's the image we get from that. Regina bundled Emma up in the towel like they were in Tehran. Okay, I admire your work ethic, Emma, but I have something altogether different in mind for today. I'm sure you do. The memory of Regina, next to nude and glistening with tanning oil, blew into Emma's mind like a summer storm. My usual masseuse is out sick. You don't mind, do you? Stupid. It was raining, and Regina was a girl. God. As I hear it, you have a senior project coming due. Emma had to stop herself from shaking her head. She was used to this treatment from Mary Margaret. We have ways of making you talk. It's just an essay, nothing huge. 20% of your final grade, Emma. An A or a C. What's it going to be about? The trash island in the Pacific. Or in the Atlantic. You mean the Pacific. It's trash. It floats. Regina pulled the towel away so fast, Emma wondered if she'd be naked underneath, like a magic trick. She wasn't. Come with me. As they walked, Regina dropped the towel into a hamper. Emma wished she would fit in so easily. Her tennis shoes squeaked on the floor, leaving wet marks. Emma felt like a little girl tracking in mud. She would have given anything to make Regina see her as a woman. They passed many windows. The sound of the rain striking them lulled Emma out of her doubts. She found her eyes pulled to the muscles of Regina's back, working under the tight cloth of her Oxford shirt. It was a more casual ensemble than Emma had ever seen her in. The skirt barely reached her knees. Emma was thrown out of her reverie by the creak of Regina opening a door for her. They were deep in the west wing of Regina's manor. "Welcome to my library," Regina said, crooking her finger to usher Emma inward. Emma didn't hesitate. She followed Regina to a table and sat down in the chair Regina pulled out for her without a question. Regina patted her on the shoulder, then indicated a stack of books in front of her. "I've put together a little reading list on the subject." So, if she didn't know what subject Emma was writing on, how did she put together a reading list on it and have it available for her beforehand? I guess she's psychic. "I've put together a little reading list on the subject. There isn't anything that is very detailed, I'm afraid, but it has to give you a few ideas." Emma flipped through the first book. "This is perfect. Did you buy this for me?" "No, I've had them lying around. These shelves hold over 500 books. Wow, Emma looked around. The bookshelves towered like skyscrapers, intimidating but welcoming. "You must spend a lot of time on the can. Reading, I mean." Oh, smooth Emma. Regina took a moment to blink. "Actually, I have a Barcelona I prefer." "I probably would too." Okay. Regina's hand returned to Emma's shoulder, but I did get the joke. Her fingers played at Emma's skin, flowing through the strap of her tank top. If a cat was trying to decide whether to undress someone or not, Emma could imagine its touch being like that. Not that Regina would ever take so much of it as a stitch off of her. "What have you got so far?" Regina asked. "I have an outline," Emma said, feeling like she'd just confessed to a skin condition. "All right, then here's what we'll do. I'll fix us supper. You stay in here and write your paper. We'll eat presently. If you need any help, I'll be right next door, and neither of us will leave until we have this thing licked." Emma really wished Regina hadn't used that word. And that's where we'll pause on this one. I really wish that she hadn't used that word either, because it just made me think of the whole Lana, Regina licked Emma thing. So that was fun. Yeah. So, I don't have a lot of thoughts at this moment, aside from just the general fact that Regina is grooming an 18-year-old who's still in high school. And it's ew. And the whole towel head thing, which I suppose that he didn't even realize what he was implying with that, but it was pretty bad. And yeah, so we'll get into part 3 later on when I'm home.